Hi guys.
Welcome, Mahmoud. We have another speaker on board, Mahmoud Maihoob. Probably you saw his YouTube video from the TED Talks, and many people were interested to see. To be on your masterclass because of your wow TED Talks. Just a quick reminder, Mahmoud is a certified English teacher, life coach, public speaker, and workshop facilitator who aspires to influence people positively and help improve their lives and well-being. And today he's with us with the masterclass about the constructive communication in relationship.
Hey guys, nice to meet you. And yeah, hopefully this is going to be beneficial for all of us and hopefully life-changing. And I hope I don't disappoint you, most of all.
I'm
No,
very
not at
excited.
all.
Okay, so like Karina said, I'm going to talk about the importance of constructive communication and how it can change our lives or it can change our relationships for the better. In general, people communicate all of the time. When we get our morning coffee, we communicate. When we talk to our bosses at work, we communicate. When we go out with our friends, we communicate. But as of late, I've noticed, and I'm sure all of you are going to be with me on this point, that communication in a relationship has become a very, very daunting and, let's say, a complicated task. Partners aren't able to communicate anymore. There's a lot of misunderstanding, confusion, and so on. And yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm gonna talk about how we can achieve constructive communication between partners, and hopefully uh, the things I'm going to share with you today are going to be helpful. So yeah, let's start off by explaining the meaning of communication. Communication, by definition, means the transfer of information from one point to another or from one person to another. In relationships, however, communication allows you to share with your partner what you're experiencing and what your needs are. And it also allows you to become more connected in your relationship. It helps you to become closer with your partner. And excuse me, it is essential to communicate with your partner because, first of all, it's going to help you avoid any misunderstandings, any anger, resentment, and overall confusion in general. But the problem is that all of us have different styles or different ways of communicating. And as the saying goes, it takes two to tango. So, in order to achieve constructive and proper communication, the two people involved in the relationship have to work hard in order to achieve this. And improving communication can be a very difficult task and takes a lot of hard work and effort. And I'm going to share with you a couple of personal experiences I've had in my life, firsthand experiences. One of them is a bad example for communication, and the other one is a good example for communication. So let's start off with the bad example in order to end this on a high note. My parents, God bless them, have been together for the better part of 30 years or something. They loved each other very, very much, and they cared about each other very, very much. Their love was almost tangible. But they had a huge problem communicating with each other. They always chose to run away from the part of communicating in order to avoid getting into an argument or getting into a fight or causing problems in general. But by time, the feeling of resentment had started to grow within each of them until they reached a boiling point of not communicating at all. There's a problem. They thought that there's going to be a problem, we'll just avoid it and let the problem solve itself. They thought that they were doing this for the sake of their relationship, and they thought that this was going to help them improve the relationship or avoid an argument or whatever. But by time their relationship had already imploded, and it was too late. It was too late to save it, and they had to sadly leave each other because at the end of the day, their love and care for each other wasn't enough to save their relationship, because ever since the beginning of their relationship, they had never ever communicated properly or learned how to communicate properly. So that was the bad example. Let's move on to a more positive example. And that example includes a relationship I've been in. Me and my girlfriend at that time, we had a really, really solid ground when it came to communication. We used to communicate everything. We used to talk about everything, no matter how small or trivial we might think it was, and no matter how big or significant it was. We communicated all the time. And we had these unspoken ground rules and this solid foundation between us that by time helped us become more connected and more close together. And as time went on, we almost reached this telepathical way of communicating because since the beginning, or ever since the beginning of our relationship, we communicated all the time. And that was the thing that really, really held us together in our relationship, that we kept communicating and communicating and communicating. We never thought that maybe that's not an issue, or maybe that's not something very significant that we should talk about or whatever. We used to communicate everything, and that helped our relationship thrive at that time. So that's a good example of communication and proper example of communication, which brings us to our next part. How can couples improve communication in their relationships? Number one, no interruptions. Because in communication, sometimes you're going to do the talking, and at other times you're going to do the listening. So when you're doing the latter, which is the listening, make sure not to interrupt your partner, because it might disrupt their flow or their train of thought, and they might not convey the message that they want to deliver in the way that they had wanted because of all of the interruptions and the distractions. So that's one point. Second point is, make your message clear and concise. When you're communicating something with your partner, whether it's a problem or something that is good, make sure that you're making it straightforward and clear. Don't talk with them in riddles, and don't beat around the bush, and avoid saying it clearly, because at the end of the day, that's gonna cause some confusion with your partner. So try to keep the message clear and concise. Next point, share positive feelings. And that's a very, very important aspect, because people nowadays, or couples nowadays, when they communicate or they talk about something, they usually tend to point out the negative aspects instead of pointing out some positive aspects. When they're in an argument, or they're in a fight, or they're having a problem with each other, they say it in a very negative way. So try to make sure when you're communicating with your partner, when you're saying something that might hurt their feelings or might make them upset, try to also mention the positive things about them. Try to show them how much you care about them, how much you love them, how much you appreciate their presence in your life. Don't make the whole message or the whole idea negative. Try to put out some positive things every now and then. And finally, and that is, in my opinion, the most important part of communication, negotiate. You have to negotiate with your partner. We're not going to have like a debate or a formal negotiation, but you have to know and you have to understand when your relationship is more important than the problem itself. Because in a lot of relationships, pride and ego and stubbornness play a huge part. For example, someone might think that the problem is insignificant, but the other one is going to think that it's big or it's a huge issue, and they're not going to put their foot down. They're going to keep on going and going and going and going and going. So that's why it's important to meet in the middle with your partner, and important to realize that the relationship is more important than the issue itself. But at the end of the day, if all of the previous choices fail, then you'll have to agree to disagree with your partner. But let's take this as a last resort. So, all of these were ways to improve verbal communication. There's another type of communication, however, and that's called non-verbal communication, which is just as important as verbal communication. Non-verbal communication conveys a lot of messages without you saying a word or without you uttering a word from your mouth. And that is by hand gestures, body posture, facial expressions, body language in general. All of these things convey a message to your partner or the person in front of you. And it's important to make sure that your verbal communication matches your non-verbal communication. For example, if you're saying to your partner, I love you, if you say it in a flat or in a bored tone, it's going to convey or it's going to deliver two conflicting messages. Message number one is, I love you. Message number two is, it was said in an indifferent and in a bored tone of voice, and that's gonna cause confusion to your partner. By it's gonna make them feel that, okay, he or she said that they love me, but why did he say it in a bored tone or in a flat tone? So that is why nonverbal communication is almost as important, if not more important than verbal communication, because most of the time is the one that gets hurt. Because at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. People tend to believe actions more than words. And like verbal communication, we have some ways to improve nonverbal communication. Number one, when you're speaking with your partner, make sure to keep comfortable eye contact. Don't look away here or there or up or down or whatever, because it's going to show them that you're not really interested in what they're saying, you're not really comfortable listening to them, or you just flat out don't care about what they're saying. You have to show your partner that you care. Even if you think that the issue isn't that important, you have to show them that their concern or that the message that they want to say is important. Number two, gestures and body language. And that is a huge, huge aspect in nonverbal communication, because we make these things subconsciously without being aware that we're making them. When someone is saying something that you don't like, you just frown or you just make this face unexpectedly without controlling it. But all of these are negative things. Make sure that you're making positive gestures or your body language is positive when you're talking with your partner. Try to pat them on the leg or on their shoulder, or show them that, to show that you're actually concerned about what they're facing or that you actually care about them. Try not to make your body language negative. Try to make it positive to show them that you really do care about their concern or about what they're saying. And finally, number three, when you're talking with your partner, make sure that you're facing them, not looking the other way or giving them facing their back or whatever. You have to show them face to face, because again, that conveys a message of indifference when you're not facing your partner. Like you're just, yeah, okay, keep going, keep talking. I don't care about what you're saying. You have to face them, show them that you're willing and you want to listen to what they're saying, and that you're comfortable enough to listen to their concern or their problem. Or, yeah. And that's pretty much it. So, if you guys have anything else to point out or have any questions, we can discuss it together. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I've been listening to you, and what you said is so true. Your point of view, people can learn it, how to communicate, or it's something that comes naturally, and they cannot learn that on words. Is this a skill, or is this something that comes natural?
For some people, it comes naturally, but in many cases, it's skill because, like I said, it's a two-way thing. You have to learn to communicate with your partner. You have to sharpen these skills, and you have to know the ups and downs or the advantages and disadvantages of the way that you communicate together. So, yeah, I guess in most cases, it's definitely a skill, not something that comes naturally. That's very rare because in our lives in general, we learn and adapt and learn and adapt. So learning how to communicate better or learning how to communicate in a proper way is something that you have to work on. It's not a talent, it's a skill.
Yeah, thank you. Do you think that something can stop people from wanting to learn it? How to communicate?
Something might stop them.
Yeah.
I guess the only thing that might stop them is that if they decide to work on their communication skills or communicating with each other when it's too late. Like the example that I mentioned with my parents, they tried and tried and tried and tried to communicate better or in a proper way, but by that time it was already too late because the damage was done. So yeah, in my opinion, that's the only thing that might not make people willing to do that, because if they don't try to fix the problem at the beginning, it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes unfixable. So yeah, timing is everything. The moment you feel that there's a problem with your partner and something that you gotta communicate or you gotta talk about, do it right now at the very moment, because if you leave a problem and then another problem and then another problem, it's gonna be too late by then.
Yeah, I met people like you are talking about that. They just better would leave something and that would be resolved on its own way, just without the need of communicate about that or to work on that. And my parents basically they some kind of at some point they do the same. Yeah, do you think that maybe that's type of personality, or this is again something that we can learn, or for example maybe there is type of personality who would never agree to that?
Of course, personality plays a huge part in this. And like I mentioned before, it is a skill, of course, but it depends on the personality as well, because again, ego and pride play a huge part in this kind of situations. When you have a huge ego or pride, you always think that you're correct or right all of the time. So you're not gonna see, or you're not gonna view that you're doing a wrong thing or you're hurting your relationship in the process. You have to be willing to do the work with your partner, not just your partner. So yeah, personality definitely plays a huge part in this, in improving the skill of communication.
Sometimes we're too cruel or too blind to understand and to say that the partner is suffering, and that's very time to help or to give a hand or to make a step toward the partner. Then instead of leaving the problem, because that would lead to the biggest issue in the future. I'm totally agree with you. Yeah. Do you think there is a difference in between men and women communication, and that might cause a problem just because we have the different nature?
That's a really sensitive topic. Okay, I'm gonna try to go about in a neutral point of view from this.
Oh, this women.
No. Look, from my experience and from what I've seen, women tend to communicate more than us, and that is a good point. That is a plus, because men tend to be a bit more proud, and I don't want to say egotistical, but we have a bigger ego by nature, because most men believe that they're the alpha and the woman is the omega, which I don't agree with, because I believe that people are equal in anything. It doesn't matter what the gender is, but they are equal. And I believe in equality in relationship, and I believe in supporting equality between the genders, because, well, I'm sure you know that right now there's a huge sexism problem in the world. But men, they tend to fix rather than listen to what the problem is. And women, at times, they just want to be heard. They want someone to listen to their problems. They don't want you to give them a solution. They want you to listen to their problem, to their needs, to their concerns. And then when you listen to them, you can find a solution together. Men, I guess we can say, to conclude this, men are a bit more practical and pragmatic than women are, or most men, I guess. They tend to avoid the hassle. They just want to find a solution. And I don't think that's correct, of course. You have to show your partner that you respect their needs, you respect their concerns. You have to show them that you care in general. They don't want to find a solution. They want to talk and they want to be heard. So men are more practical. Women, I guess, I don't want to say more emotional, but they tend to communicate more. And I think that this is something that we should learn from them as men, to communicate more and to listen to them.
We are more emotional. That's true. Our nature is so we react differently. Like we are, if something happens, like we're so excited, that's a blast, and men would. Well, I won't say majority. We're all different, and there are very emotional men in the world, and many of emotional men, and like it's all okay by the end of the day if we are okay with that or if we are not okay. From that point, if Taisha said we're nurturers by nature. Yeah. If that might be annoying for men, if women would ask to talk to her, or would ask for more of communication, and he would not want to do that, or maybe there is such a thing as not the right time to speak to a man, and women do not understand that.
I don't think it's about men or women when it comes to that part. Timing is definitely, of course, a huge aspect. But for example, I might be having a bad day and my partner is having a problem, or she wants to talk about something. So the wise and the right thing to do is to, I guess, try to postpone this to another time, and vice versa. Of course, if my partner is having a problem and I want to talk with her about something, but let's assume that she's had a really, really bad day at work. I'm not gonna go say, hey, I have a problem, let's talk right now. timing is, of course, essential. So I don't think it has to do with men having a bad day or whatever. It has to do with both genders having a bad day. So yeah, timing is definitely a huge and important aspect when it comes to communication.
Yeah, I agree. And we covered that topic one time in a podcast about that. Sometimes when we're coming to our partner and we're saying, hey, honey, can you talk to me just right now? And when we see that man is busy doing something else, or for example, the difference of our minds, when women can do like multiple tasks at the same time and we don't bother like cooking something or like being into the project and then at the same time talking to a man, and man, yeah, I will. Okay, Taisha said you definitely want your point received. Sorry, just a minute. You definitely want your point received well. Timing is everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the point that we were talking about. That timing is very important.
Yeah. So we can. I think that this is what I admit by mostly what women does, by the way, not men. We can come and ask like, hey, can we do this, or can you fix that? And it's just like waiting, hey, just can you just do that straight away? Like, it doesn't matter what you do right now, if you're busy or if you're watching something or if you are doing anything. And that's kind of like lack of respect, because men can accept that as like, what I do right now is not important for you, or you're not taking that as something important, and you are willing me to do something what you think is important. And it's hard the feeling on men that way. What would you think about that? Like, is it so, or like it depends upon the person who would consider that, or who would not that sensible, sensitive for that?
Well, sometimes when, let's say, both parties are having a bad day and they really don't want to talk about what's happening or whatever, sometimes they have to compromise and put their problems or their bad day aside and concentrate with their respective partners and talk about maybe the huge issue that they're facing. And in any relationship, there's going to be a lot of compromisation and there's going to be a lot of sacrifice. So, like I said, it takes two people to tango. So you gotta do your part, and your partner's gonna do his or her part. Sometimes you might think that you don't want to listen or you don't have the energy to listen, but like anything in life, you have to exert a specific amount in effort in order to reach a good end product or a good result. So sometimes when you do have a bad day, you just have to put that aside and listen to your partner and talk with them. If the issue is gigantically urgent, you just gotta do that for your partner, because at the end of the day, they're your partner and you love them, and that's one of the most important aspects in every relationship, to compromise and to sacrifice and listen to your partner.
Hey, people, you should listen to that man saying such an important thing. I mean, it's not, because mainly women who are covering those topics, like, hey, like your partner is someone precious. If you're in relationship, so please, like, let's take care like of each other. This is what I saw, that women mostly like taking the advantage, or like being the one who, how to say that, like ask about that, but not the man. But men are suffering because of that. Oh, Taisha is asking, I will be speaking on what type of listener are you in a relationship? Do you know what? No, I think I'm not into types. I don't know about that.
Well, there are different ones. So you can be a reactive listener, or just a receiver. If you're reactive, that means you're listening to the person and you're actually going to adhere to what they're saying. You're going to fulfill the request. If you're not just listening to say, okay, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I understand. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Because then you're dealing with someone who's either a visual listener, a verbal listener, or a reactive listener. So if you're dealing with someone who's just verbal, they just respond to whatever you're saying, or they're reactive. They're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, and I'm going to actually follow through on the things that you're requesting. So there are different types of listeners when it does come to that situation.
Yeah. Wow.
I agree with that.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead, Karina. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mahmoud. I'm sorry.
What was the question again? I forgot.
No, I think we covered that question. I would ask, sometimes couples, they meet, for example, mixed couples or people from different countries, and they are actually, they have lack of understanding of each other. So is that might be an issue, is that might be a problem at that point when people cannot actually ask each other, like, hey, let's pick how we would react like in this situation, like, what we would do, like, what do you think about that, how do you feel about those things, like, is that important, or people can actually use like something is about the communication that can make them happier, and what, like, is that a sensitive topic about the people who are from different countries or mixed couples?
Well, that's a very good point, actually, because it happens a lot when two people get married. They're from different countries, and well, most of us, or most of the participants here right now, are from different countries. We come from different backgrounds, and we have a different mentality and different perspective of seeing things. But I guess in that case, you just have to sit down and agree with your partner on what to do when this specific situation happens. What might tick them off? What's the little things that make them upset, or the little things that make them happy? And when you make an agreement with them, or you agree on these things, by time when you get to know each other, you'll find a way of reaching a proper solution or a proper conclusion together. And at that point, it's not gonna matter whether you come from different cultures or whether you come from a different country or whatever, because at the end of the day, you have to accept your partner as he or she is, regardless of culture or race or whatever. So again, like I said, and I mentioned earlier, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes the two people working in that or on that matter to improve that. So my advice is, if you're from different cultures, sit together, agree. You have to know what pulls their strings, or what makes them upset, what makes them happy. And then by time, you're going to get used to this together, and you're going to get used to each other. And the barrier of communication, or the barrier of culture, the barrier of different country isn't going to matter anymore. So like I said, consistency and time is going to improve it.
What is it important to agree on important points in the beginning when people are just meet each other, and before they decide that okay, I know that this, or I feel that this person is my type, or just the right person for myself, and I want to be with him or with her, like right now, let's say, right, like I feel like that's something right for us to do, like to be together. Or like, isn't that the mistake, that people don't try to get to know each other? They just like attracted, they are affectionate by each other, but they don't try to get to know each other. Is that can be fixed then after, or it might be like too late maybe after?
Having an agreement about communicating with your partner, it's not the number one thing that you're going to do in the relationship. In my opinion, that's a last resort, because we're not doing a business deal here. We're gonna, hey, I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and you're gonna do 1, 2, 3. It's not gonna work like that. You have to know to get to know your partner with their perks, with the things that they love about themselves, the things that they love about you, and vice versa. And you just gotta accept each other the way that they are, and you gotta accept their nature. Having an agreement in communication is when things are getting critical or things are hitting rock bottom, or like we said in the previous question, when you come from two different and two totally different backgrounds or different countries. But at the end of the day, when you meet someone that you like or someone that you're attracted to, you got to get to know them first. You're not going to set some rules and set some things in stone and not going to change them at all. You have to get to know them, what you like about them, what you might not like about them, and they're going to do the same for you. Because at the end of the day, acceptance is everything. You have to accept your partner with their flaws, and at the end of the day, they're going to accept you with your flaws, because no one is perfect. Let's face it. I have my flaws. Everyone has their flaws. So it's a matter of acceptance at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a pleasure to listen to smart men. I'm so blessed that we do have we do have you guys over here. If at some point communication may harm, it helps us. If that might harm, and at which point do you think it might harm?
At which point I think it might harm is if you, let's say for example, I told my partner something and it really, really hurt her. And then I said it again and it hurt her again. And then I said it again and it hurt her again. That's when it becomes a bit hurtful to them. If you keep communicating the same message to them over and over again, and you know and willingly know that it's going to hurt them, that's when communication becomes a bit detrimental or it becomes disadvantageous. You have to know what upsets your partner and try to either fix it or avoid it. Don't hurt them on purpose. You know that you're going to say something that's going to hurt them on purpose, then what's the point of even saying it? Don't hurt your partner on purpose. It's going to make them resent you, or it's going to make them have some bent up anger or resentment inside of them. And by time, it's going to come crashing down on your head. So never ever communicate or say a message to your partner that you know is going to hurt them. Just try to find another way to say it, or I'm not going to say sugarcoat, but try to deliver your message in a different way, rephrase it, whatever, do what you got to do, but don't hurt them and blatantly hurt them on purpose.
Yeah, that's very true. And Taisha said that dishonesty hurts. That's very true.
Of course, lying and dishonesty hurt a lot, and lying to me is a red line. If someone is lying in a relationship, then that's a red line. It can be fixable, of course, but something, when your partner lies to you, something inside of you breaks. This feeling of trust, it doesn't become solid or steel, made of steel anymore. It becomes made of glass. Once it's broken, it's broken. It's unfixable. And that's why I believe that honesty is the best policy, and you have to be honest with your partner from day one until the last day. You have to be honest with your partner, because lying will never get you anywhere, and dishonesty will never ever get you anywhere. It's going to cause problems and problems and problems. If you think that by lying you're going to avoid a problem and you're going to avoid an argument or a fight or whatever, no. At the end of the day, if your partner finds out that you lied to him or to her, it's going to cause a bigger problem than the one that you had intentionally tried to avoid. And I believe that you got to be honest, even if it's going to get you into trouble. Because people in general, we as human beings, we appreciate honesty and we appreciate truth. We don't like lying. We hate lying. It always causes problems. So even if you're going to get into trouble, you got to be honest all the time.
Sometimes, yeah, we're just afraid of what would happen if we would tell the truth, and we're so afraid to again be rejected by what we did or by what we like, by just who we are, and that caused the lie in our life. And I think that can be fixed actually with the with this self-love once we grow and heal all of those traumas why we've been rejected. And I love actually this idea that we hurt by people and we healed by people as well. So there is such model that like ideally if we find the right person for us and we know that there is some struggles that we had in the past, so we can say honestly, hey, you know, I feel insecure over here, so I would need your hand and I would need your support in this instance. And the ideal way of resolving is when in return, person would say, yeah, I would love to support you and I would be there with you. But yeah, that's it. Taisha asked to repeat about dishonesty and lying. See, that's very important.
Yeah, it is. And I just want to add another point.
Sorry. We have yeah, there is the how to say that, like people are checking on us and the universe sending me trials today happening.
So like I said, there's just one more point I want to add about honesty and lying. Like I said, even if you get into trouble with being honest, your partner is the person who's gonna accept you the most, more than anyone else, because they're gonna know you more than anyone else. So if you're afraid that you're gonna get into trouble and then you choose to lie, it's gonna cause a problem, because your partner is supposed to be your safe zone. They should accept you and accept anything that you say, even if it hurts you or it hurts them. They're your safe zone. So don't ever think that lying is the best option. Lying is not the key towards solving a problem in a relationship or towards saving a relationship. But what is the key is that your partner is supposed to be your safe zone, and they have to, or no, yeah, they have to accept you as who you are and for what you are. So don't ever be afraid of being honest, even if it's gonna get you into trouble.
Sometimes, though, we ask people to accept ourselves where we cannot accept ourselves. That's very interesting how we behave sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah. What about sometimes, you know, about the communication, when one person don't want to listen to us, we think that there is no love. If he's not listening to me, or if she's not listening to me, he doesn't love me anymore.
I wouldn't say that he doesn't love you anymore. I'd say that that person just doesn't care about listening to you anymore, or about the communication part anymore, because they might be drained from I don't know, several aspects in their lives. But I wouldn't say that they don't love each other anymore, because like I said, my parents, they used to love each other very, very much, a lot. It was like a fairy tale thing. And their problem is that, or the thing that ended their relationship, was that because they never communicated at all. Even though they loved each other so much and they were together for a really long time, but they couldn't care about solving their problems anymore, or they couldn't care about trying to fix things between each other anymore. So I wouldn't say that they don't love their partner, but no, it's because it's just that they never had, or maybe the solid foundation and the ground rules for communication had never existed between them. So that's why they don't listen to each other anymore. I don't think it has to do with love.
Yeah, it's I think it's a kind of the self-confidence, or something that happened to us in the past when we wanted to be heard, and by the end of the day, like we've been rejected, and we took that thing when somebody didn't want to listen to us as a like acceptance that like when people do not listen to us, that they do not love us anymore. Like we experience that with our parents sometimes. There is such a thing as if man has a problem or has some issue, he would rather talk if he needs to talk. Sometimes he's not bringing that to his woman, but he would willing to talk about those issues with the person whom he respects, with the person who he think he can take the like the advice from, or like who could support him and like emotionally, or like somehow like more strong than him, kind of mentor. And is that like true at some point to some extent, or like, and should women be worried about that and be jealous or something like that?
Well, in my opinion, I guess it depends on the man, and the man's personality. A lot of men talk with their partner or their woman when they're having a problem or there's something that's bothering them. I used to do this. If the other part of the relationship in this point is the woman, if she conveys to her man or shows her man that she is his safe zone, and she's not only his partner, she's also the person that he should go to when he's having a problem, then why wouldn't her man go and talk to her? So I guess it depends on the man, and it depends on the woman providing that sense of security and sense of comfort to him. And is that emotional? That's a very good question. In my opinion, yes, because if I go and communicate with my woman about something that's bothering me, and she doesn't do the same thing, then that's gonna make me really, really upset. If she finds comfort and if she finds safety in someone else and she doesn't find it in me, yeah, I'll feel like she's cheating on me. She's not cheating on me, but I'll get the feeling that she's doing something behind my back, or she finds comfort in someone else. That's gonna destroy me as a man. So, like I said, you have to give your partner the sense of comfort and the sense of security when you're talking with them, or vice versa when he or she is talking back to you. Yeah, that's a really good point. Thank you, Isha. That was a great point.
What would you say to mentor, or to mentor, or to a man or to a woman who doesn't want to listen to their partners for some reasons? They don't like that. They just don't think that that's necessary. Whatever.
I tell them that if they think that it's not an important issue, or it's not something that should concern them, by time they're gonna drift apart from their partner. And to connect to the previous point, their partner is going to find someone else who's going to listen, or they're going to find that safety and comfort in someone else. So it is important to listen, and it is important to communicate, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect your relationship, marriage, or whatever. People take communication for granted so much, because they think by doing that they're avoiding a problem, or they're avoiding a fight or whatever. But by time, these bent up feelings will come back to haunt you, and it might be the cause or the reason why your relationship is gonna end, or why your relationship is getting affected by that. So I tell them that you have to know what's at stake. You have to know that by time your relationship is going to be in a bad place if you don't show your partner that you're willing to listen to them, or you're not going to show your partner that what they say matter, or all of this. So I guess that should be an incentive for them to actually start communicating with your partners. They have to know that the relationship is at stake.
I have. Do you have the question over there? Because I received just extremely interesting question.
Yeah, I have a question here. If they are dishonest, how do you communicate with dishonest people? Um, Again, like I said, lying and dishonesty, eventually, they're gonna get caught. But what I do in general, and that's in general with people, not in a relationship. Uh, I tend to go along with the lie and see where people or what people are gonna say at the end. And when they're done talking or when they're done with their lie, I'm gonna confront them and tell them that I know that you're lying. I know that you're just saying a lot of nonsense, and I know what the truth is. And at the end of the day, that feeling of embarrassment and shame forces people to become honest with you. It forces them to think twice before lying to you. No, I'm not gonna through that. I'm not gonna go through that embarrassing feeling again or that feeling of shame. I mean, God, I look so puny and small in front of them right now. So that's what I do, and it works. When you go along with the lie and then you tell the person that you actually know what the truth is, it works. It makes them stop lying to you. So that's how I deal with dishonest people in general, not in a relationship. Because in my relationship, I never lied at all to my girlfriend, and she did the same thing. So that's what I do with people who are dishonest in general.
I received another question. How can you communicate about the jealousy in a positive way?
How can you communicate jealousy in a positive way? Yeah, I just got that question too. Look, and again, I'm gonna walk a fine line here about jealousy because it's a very sensitive topic. Um, Jealousy usually ends in a bad way because your emotions drive you when you're jealous. You don't think properly or you don't think in a wise way when you're jealous. You think with your heart or you think with your emotions. You have to talk in a sensible way. You have to show the other person that that thing bothered you. It really annoyed you and it's a problem for you. But if you go and fight and shout and yell, I'm jealous, you did this, and that other woman drives me insane, or that other man drives me insane, that problem is not going to be fixed or solved. You have to talk about it, or most importantly, you have to show or you have to make the other person understand how you feel. You have to show them and tell them in a constructive way, I'm jealous because of this and this and that. They have to understand how you're feeling. Just don't go and fight with them because I am jealous. No, you have to show them and you have to make them understand how you're feeling. And you have to give them the liberty and the option to react. It's their right. And it's your right to get jealous of over your partner and vice versa. It's your partner's right to get jealous over you. And at the end of the day, if your love and care are strong enough in your relationship, he or she are going to understand and he or she are going to stop the thing that's making you jealous.
How do you think should parents be, well, not concerned, but should they teach their children how to communicate? Or naturally, children learn from just watching the actions of their parents, or they somehow like can be fixed even if parents like their communication doesn't work or doesn't go well, but they still can teach their children, like, that doesn't works well, but you should try, or you should do yourself this and that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Parents have to teach their children how to communicate, the proper way of communicating, and the wrong way of communicating, what to do and what not to do, if they know how to do that. They have to demonstrate that. They have to show their children the proper ways of communication by actually doing that with their partners in front of them. Because kids, they are influenced and they are affected by everything around them, whether it's positive or negative. So if you show them a positive way of communicating, that's going to reflect on them. But however, if you show them a negative way of communicating, that's going also to affect them, but in a bad way. So definitely communication should be taught from a young age if the parents have the ability to communicate, and if they have the ability to have a positive environment or a positive way of communicating around their kids.
Do you think that that's worse to about the relationship and about the communication and other very important topics that we will speak about today? Should that be considered as like another subject at schools or at universities? Because mainly people are learning that when they are facing the problems, and before that they just like they don't know what to do with that because they haven't been taught.
Yes, of course. I used to teach communication skills in one of my previous jobs, and like I said, communication happens all around us, and it's become a huge, huge aspect nowadays in our lives. Communication skills is a huge, huge advantage if you have it, and it's a huge disadvantage if you don't have it. For example, if you're a boss and you have your own business, if you communicate in an improper way with your employees, they're not gonna perform as expected, or they might just flat line quit, and that's it. So yeah, communication skills should be taught. And like I said, I used to teach it. It has to be practiced, of course, because you can't memorize how to communicate properly. It's not a subject at school. It's more of a practical thing. So it has to be practiced, of course. But yeah, at the end of the day, of course, I'm a huge advocate of teaching communication as a subject, whether at school or at universities or whatever. It's very important. It's a life skill that should definitely be taught and should definitely be brought more attention towards.
That was truly beautiful. I agree with you, and I think that people who are watching us and who would watch this video, they agree the same. That was there was lots of the so important information that they can use and they can take it and change the way they communicate with each other and understand how they hurt or how they can care about each other more. That was so wow. Thank you about that.
Thank you.
That was Mahmoud Maihoob, ladies and gentlemen. If you would have any questions about the communications, or you love him as a coach, as you love his personality, contact him. You see that. Well, I'm actually just that's not for the compliments, but I love when you talk with the wise man, and it's like, oh wow, that's so just you can listen and listen and listen and listen. Oh, applauses and beautiful comments.
Thank you very much, and I hope that everyone else enjoyed that. And yeah, hopefully that was beneficial and useful for all of us. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, again, I'm speechlessly honest. I'm really happy, and I really appreciate everything they just said. So yeah, thank you so much.